Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to install what I call flush-mounted rod holders into Richie's kayak.
I'm ready.
And we're going to drill a bunch of holes in Richie's boat. Hopefully it'll float.
Hopefully on top, not on the bottom.
Oh, not on the bottom? Okay. Okay, now when you purchase these recessed rod holders, there's a bunch of companies that make these. They're fairly inexpensive, and you always get them like this with no instructions. So the first thing you have to realize when you mount this is you have 2 or 3 angles that you can mount this in.
Right.
So I prefer to mount them in what I call a straight angle. So when you put your rod into the rod holder, your rod is basically sticking out straight out of the back of the boat. I only use them for storage, not for trolling. If you want to use them as a trolling device, then you're going to have to angle them, and you can angle them at a couple different degrees, and that way your rod will be out at an angle from the boat this way. Most fishing packages that you buy directly from the manufacturer, that's the way they're mounted. Just from experience and hitting tree tops and so forth when you're fishing in brush, I prefer to have it mounted this way. So in Richie's boat, this is the way we're going to do it. Now in some cases you'll get these what I call O-rings or rubber gaskets, and in some cases you don't. If you don't have the rubber gasket, it doesn't matter. You can still mount them the exact same way. Sometimes I'll put a little bead of sealant around here just to make it a little bit watertight when you put it into your boat. Sometimes you'll get the rivets for them, sometimes you won't. If you don't get the rivets, it's very important that you use stainless steel, extra long, the plastic tip rivets. If you use anything else, like the ones you buy at Home Depot, which are all metal, they'll basically corrode on you, and they're not long enough to go through the holder, the gasket, and then give you a tight bite. So it's important that you get the extra long ones. This kit happened to come with them, so we're going to use what they gave us. Simple tools, basically a drill, a nice hole saw, so you can go ahead and cut the hole. Once you cut the hole, we're going to have to angle it a little bit to be able to get this further back in, and that'll come at a later date. We'll do that in a couple minutes after I cut the first hole in here.
So here we go, right?
Here we go.
Here we go.
Now normally what you do is you kind of want to center this hole saw so it's in the center. It's just basically, and everything you do in a boat, it's kind of like the old saying, measure 2, 3, 4 times before you make a cut. Plastic, once you cut it or once you drill into it, you can't bring it back, unfortunately. I think I've done this once or twice, so
okay.
You want me to do this?
Yeah, I'm trusting you.
Feeling good? Okay. Yeah. So I try to center both rod holders so everything's straight. I go ahead and put the hole saw sort of where I want it, which is pretty much in the middle of the bracket. I measured the bottom of this to be 2 inches, so I'm using a 2-inch hole saw. It's better to use a little bit of a smaller size than it is a larger size, because you can always make the hole a little bit bigger by either cutting it or filing it.
Okay, here we go.
So what we'll do, I measured that up. Looks pretty centered.
We're in.
Okay, now the piece that just fell in, we're going to want to keep that piece, because in the event that you ever want to do any sort of patchwork or you want to do any kind of repairs, those little pieces are good to hold on to, and you can melt them if you have a little hole or so forth. Now to give you an idea of what we were talking about, when you put this in here, this is a little tight, so I'm going to open this hole up just a little bit, or maybe I won't. And to see the way it doesn't angle, so what you have to do, hold this down,
yep, I got you.
is we're going to have to cut this out just a little bit this way, and we'll do that
with a file.
With a file or with a knife. Black and it's tough to see, but the holes are, what I'm really doing is I'm lining up the holes of the gasket with the holes of the mount. Everything it's all by eye. It's not an exact science, but basically the idea is, like I said, you want to just turn this just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. sometimes you wet them and they kind of slide in a little bit easier. Now, the reason I'm having a little bit of a difficulty time getting them in is I always like to use as tight as possible as a drill bit, so it makes a little bit of a better watertight feel to it. It'd be easier to go the next size up on my drill bit, and then this would just literally drop right in. But that's really how you're going to get the tightest water seal, is by just going one size smaller.
And what tool is this that you use?
This is a little rivet tool, hand rivet tool. You pretty much squeeze it till it snaps right off, and you're all set. So now you got one down, you got two more to go.
What's the basic cost for like something like this? Somebody wants to buy some rod mounts and.
These rod mounts usually sell, they're about $10.
And they'll save you so much time out on the water.
They'll definitely save you a lot of time on the water.
Passing around with your rods, trying to.
And they'll definitely save your rods too. How many times have you lost a rod or?
Oh, you get hung up in a tree. You got them propped up behind you. And...
Yep. Let me show you what I have an extra. I'll show you. I'll show you what. Basically, what this tool is doing, and what it's doing behind, underneath there, is as you pull this forward. See how it crimped the plastic?
Okay.
Okay.
So it expands it.
So it expands the plastic, almost like a molly in a drywall would do. So it expands the plastic to a point where it creates pressure, and then this aluminum tip is meant to snap at that point where you have the pressure, and that's why you get a super tight fit. And very snug. It's not going anywhere when this is inside, and that's how these work. Also, once you use these, like I just did now, don't try to straighten this out again and reuse it. They won't work.
It's a simple fix to get more organized out on the water. And yep. We're here with Dino Cerdeira, the pond topper himself, and we're going to talk kayak fishing.
There we go.
So, what does somebody need to do who wants to put rod holders on their kayak and get mounts?
Okay, basically, you have a lot of options when it comes to rod holders. The simplest ones that we did today were what I consider flush-mounted rod holders. They're very inexpensive. You can buy them at most kayak shops. Paddler's Cove is one. You can go to their website, www.paddlerscove.com. You can order them directly. They're about $10, $8 a piece. They come with everything you need, the gasket, sometimes the pop rivets, sometimes not. If not, you can buy a box of pop rivets, usually 2 dozen in a box for a couple $. The only tools you need to do that are a pop rivet tool, which is very inexpensive, $5, $6, $7, $8, a 3/16" drill bit, a 2-inch hole saw, a drill, and that's pretty much all you need to get the job done. You don't need any extra sealants, you don't have to worry about glue, silicone, epoxy, or anything like that. It's not necessary.
In 10 minutes you're done.
In 10 minutes you're done.
And it's not, don't be scared of drilling holes in the boat.
That's the biggest thing that you have to overcome, is drilling a hole in a boat. But I always say, like I said in the beginning of the tape, measure, visually look at it where you want to place it, line it up, visually look at it again, measure up again, and look at it even the third time. And then once you're sure that that's what you want, then you drill your hole. It's very simple. Right. With these particular holders, you're going to have to drill the whole circular hole and then expand it with either a file or a very sharp knife to get you the angle to be able to drop that rod holder in an angle. And then once you have it in, you can position it, like I explained earlier, how you want to have that rod sticking up, either vertically back, or you want to troll with it, or how you want to position that, and it works really well. It's a real simple addition to your kayak. If you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, most kayak shops will do it for you when you buy the kayak or the equipment.
There is a little island not too far from here.